Hey everybody, this is Mark from Circle of the Dark Mother. We're going to get started here. If anybody else joins, they can catch us, catch up with us. I'm also recording this because we put it on our YouTube channel for anybody who has to miss the session. I just want to let you know we meet every first Sunday from 6:30 to whenever we're done. Sometimes that's by 8, sometimes much earlier, depending on the topic. Next month, we are going to do a ritual. Details TBD, but we do live rituals maybe 3-4 times a year. And then the month after that, we're tentatively thinking we're going to talk about Kali from Vedic tradition. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Brandon, who is going to be your presenter tonight. And Brandon will tell me when to move slides. So I'll turn over to him.
All right, great. So Kurukulla, goddess of magic, love, and enlightenment. So I guess to tell you how I got introduced to her, I have to give you a little background as to how I discovered her in the first place. I'm a devotee of Lilith, and I had been researching various manifestations that she has in various cultures around the world. And there was a tradition from Brazil that is called Kimbanda. And in the Kimbanda, it's a Afro-Brazilian tradition, and it has a class of spirits in it called Pombagiras. Mark actually covers Pombagira in his book about Lilith. And so I got very much interested in Pombagira, and she has multiple manifestations. And I was just completely taken with the subject. She lives in the charnel grounds, the cemeteries, and all of the scary places, and she could be found at crossroads, etc. So in my research into Pombagira, I reached out to the author of a book on Pombagira called Maria Padilha of the Souls. And I became friends with her, and she told me, "You love Pombagira. If you love Pombagira so much, I have to introduce to you the ultimate of ultimate Pombagiras." And Maria Padilha actually introduced me to this goddess who is Tibetan. And so I was like, a Tibetan goddess, okay, and she's the ultimate Pombagira, tell me more. And so she gave me an invocation for the goddess. And she told me whenever I was facing, really difficult obscurations in my mind, or whenever I was facing an obstacle by which I could not find an escape, Kurukulla, since she is the ultimate subjugator of all forces, can turn any negative situation that you have into your life into a positive situation that not only works for your life, but works towards your enlightenment. And so I was very interested, and I didn't really give it a first look at first. It took me a while, but I found myself faced with a challenge. And so I found the invocation that my friend had given me, and she was writing a book about the goddess that I'm going to talk about in a second at the time. And so I used the invocation, and the goddess was able to break through the barrier that I was having perceiving her. And when she appeared to me in the vision, she was extraordinarily wrathful, like a Kali-esque figure. Her hair was blazing fire, her tongue protruding. She was standing on top of a corpse. She was blazing fire like I had never experienced with any other. And it was very, very humbling. Like I was like, my jaw kind of like hits the floor. And I'm looking, and I'm almost terrified but attracted at the same time. And she looks directly at me, and she gives me the most beautiful, warm smile that just totally just melts me into tears almost. Because she's red, she magnetizes everything she touches. And because she's a Buddha and she's enlightened, when she does that, she does it in compassion and out of love for every individual, because she's seeking everyone's transformation and enlightenment. So it was a very profound experience, and the obscuration passed. And up until recently, I hadn't been working with her until my friend who wrote this book asked me to make an oil for her. And in working with the goddess making the oil, I've had to literally embody the goddess and have her possess me to a degree and doing her mantras. So I wrote like a Wikipedia article about her really quickly that it's going to be super quick to tell you about her characteristics and qualities. I'm going to read a really brief story that tells you how she transforms events into a positive. And then I'm going to read an invocation, the one that I use for obscurations. And you can participate with it to the degree that you want to or not. And it's going to be very, very simple, just so you can get an idea of her. So I guess we'll go to the second slide.
Great. Maybe. Hold on. Okay, there you go.
All right. Kurukulla is one of the most dynamic goddesses that dwells in the cosmos. She springs forth from the primordial sound, Re. She emerges from this ultimate reality in a fiery blaze of wrath and compassion, with the goal to liberate the souls that are trapped in the cosmic cycles of life, death, and rebirth. She lives in a mystical paradise that is reserved for the enlightened souls, gods and goddesses, nagas, dakinis, and the entourage that follow her, and many others. This mystical land is called Udayana, and Kurukulla is called that one from Udayana. Udayana exists in the inner reality that we can tap into at any time with the use of creative visualizations, her mantras, and of course her aid. Kurukulla has an extraordinary story. She is most infamous to practitioners of Vajrayana Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, and Tantra. She has had an exhaustive journey and was incorporated into the esoteric doctrines of Buddhism, but she most certainly did not originate as a Buddhist goddess. Originally, some people referred to Kurukulla as Red Tara, or the red one who emerges from the heart of Tara. This is a simplification, but people in the time of Kurukulla's assimilation into Buddhism were simply at a loss for figuring out her exact origin, yet aware of her immense power. Whether Hindu Tara of origin or not, it is most certain from the text that Kurukulla was a tribal deity who was so beloved for her immense power that the Buddhist practitioners assimilated her into the practices. One of the reasons for this is that Kurukulla herself is a fully enlightened Buddha that is entirely capable of performing any function. Her powers are said to extend so far that she can subjugate any power, whether it be male or female, divine or not. Kurukulla is a dynamic enchantress who magnetizes everything she touches, transforming its most base qualities into a point of power and transformation. She has some similarities with Lalita and Kali, and some practitioners have even called her the Kali of Buddhism, though she is absolutely distinct. This rises from the fact that Kurukulla loves cemeteries, charnel ground, dark and wild spirits, and is often associated with things that we may refer to as black magic. She retains the qualities of a magical enchantress, the ultimate love goddess, and the queen of lust, luxury, and desire, all at the same time being a fully realized female Buddha, who is so powerful that male gods are rendered completely powerless. We see her and observe her in three ways. Her first function can be as a tutelar deity, what is called a yidyam. A yidyam is what we call in the West our god or our goddess, or our matron or patron deity. As the yidyam, Kurukulla transforms herself into whatever it is that our mind loves, desires, and expresses. She does this so that she can transform and magnetize the desires that we have. She is so powerful that she can turn the most basic of daily functions into spiritual practices. As our yidyam or tutelar deity, she becomes everything that we've desired, everything our mind expresses, because she is the ultimate expression. She is also highly transgressive and totally antithetical to unenlightened condition, but responds with compassion to offer transcendence to reach in this life, to reach our highest potential. She also serves as a dakini. As the dakini, she is the expression of emptiness, reflecting all that is displayed in us and around us, since she springs from the very root of wisdom itself. Re. The third function Kurukulla serves is as a great protector goddess, or as a wrathful protector goddess of wealth and treasures, but not treasures in the way that you would think. She is also the guardian of spiritual treasure. It is said that the jewels that Kurukulla wears will grant every wish in the cosmos. She guards this wise treasure, granting abundance, protection, and a fertile path of living our journey. She has most infamously been approached by common people, not just great sages, which is a character of hers that lives today. She offers aid to any and every person who invokes her, regardless of who they are or what they have done, so long as their desire is for growth. She is also the goddess of wealth and protection, since she is undefeatable. She is famous for granting those who seek her aid wealth and positive living conditions. She believes that the quality in this life and the distractions that are in it are actually vehicles of realization, so she transforms our mundane life. She is also sought for exorcism and romantic subjugations, as she is unconquerable and not able to be defeated. There is no force beyond her power, which is why she is so famously employed in love spells. The hooks that Kurukulla carries are legendary to her female devotees, who know that no man has any power against her enchantment. The simple flick of her hand will send a man burning with desire, making his escape impossible. Female devotees are famous for employing acts of magic and subjugation on their lovers and enemies. She can immediately end a curse, grants boons, but above all, liberation from the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. She makes every life situation work for our good, and there is no power who can defeat her at war, love, or enlightenment. She is sometimes depicted with 4 arms or 6. She holds a bow and arrow made of flowers, a hook, a noose, a skull cup full of menstrual blood. Some of her favorite flowers and herbs are saffron, red lotus, sandalwood, jasmine, hibiscus, rose, and sometimes rarely a blue lotus, which she will hold in her right hand. Her devotees are famous for wearing red, as they believe that this reflects the living secret about the goddess. The mantra most associated with her is Om Kurukulla Ri Hum Soha, and her direction is west. Okay, so I'm going to read this is really, really short. It's from the book Nox Omnia, Female Deities of the Left-Hand Path. And it has a section on Lilith for anyone who is into Lilith. It also has Yemaya, and it has some other wrathful goddesses. But this is the most famous story of Kurukulla. There was a queen who was very worried about losing the affection and attention of her husband, and asked her maiden for help. The maiden went to the village where you can easily find certain kinds of women. These women were known as the Red Enchantresses. She found one of these Red Enchantresses, explained the problem to her, and the enchantress gave her food to give to her king. She had empowered this food with certain mantras, but the queen refused to give the food to her husband and threw it into a lake. A Naga king ate the food, and by the power of the mantra, looked for the queen, entered her room, and immediately they burned in passion one for the other, had sexual intercourse, and the queen became pregnant. The mantras used for the empowerment are Kurukulla's, and the enchantress was a priestess of Kurukulla. The story ends with the king bowing before the Red Enchantress and establishing the cult of Kurukulla in his court. According to this story, Kurukulla is a deity related to love, passion, fertility, and attraction. Her priestesses perform these rituals for love, wealth, and any kind of women's affairs. But many anonymous texts tell us that these rituals are considered black magic. These rituals included banishment, subjugation, exorcism, and rituals that cause destruction or can even kill a person. Through this story, you can see the power of transformation and how Kurukulla was able to turn an adverse situation into a successful one. So that's pretty much all of the info that I have on her. I wanted to like pause for just a second, see if anybody had any questions.
I just as an aside from what you've said, I've read some of that, but it brought me new insight. You talking about it, and I see the ties to Pampajira more than I did.
Mm-hmm.
I also see the ties with her and Lilith, of course. But I also kept thinking about, other Hindu deities like Durga, Kali, as you mentioned.
We were reading one thing that said that she's like the Durga or the Kali of Hinduism or of Tibetan Buddhism.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just really interesting because I see some parallels there that I saw because I've read the book that you're referring to, but some of it didn't click like it has when you were going through that. So thank you.
Yeah, as I was reading some sections of this, I was like, am I reading about Pombajira or am I reading about, because it was so familiar.
It's the same like with the other book you have as well. Like sometimes when I hear her talk about Kurukulla, I think she's talking about Maria Padilha.
Right.
They're so similar because Kurukulla is the queen of all of the Dakinis, which are like the red fiery serpent women.
Right.
And she's like the head honcho of all of them. And she's like,
and Maria Padilla is the queen of souls.
Yeah, the queen of the
Pombagiras.
Yeah.
And Lilith has her Lilin, and Lulu, her
And
children.
even Lilith has a red emanation.
Right.
Right.
They're all very similar to each other. Another note that I took from this would be the fact that Kurukulla doesn't really have a source for where you can track her. Like she's so old that you can't track her historically.
Right.
Lilith being very, very similar in that sense. Like Lilith was kind of today like adopted by like Hebrews, like they're Hebrew mystics from like ancient Sumeria.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there's like signs that she may be an even more ancient goddess than that, like it's very, very interesting to me, like these cultures that connect to goddesses that like are introduced into their culture.
Well, Hecate too.
Hecate as well.
She's much more ancient than the Olympians and the Greek and Roman.
Yeah, she's like a primordial goddess who is introduced into their pantheon. Yeah.
So it's like the Dark Mothers are almost, I think because they're associated with the darkness and the void, they are almost early cultures. And so they're brought forward as more male deities pop up, as we get more segregation of deities. The Dark Mothers are always there. And I don't believe they're all the same deity. I believe they come from the same source. But I just think it's interesting that there's these ones that there's such a similarity that these cultures knew something.
Yeah.
It's just really interesting.
What I love about all the witch mothers is they believe in taking care of their children in this life. Giving them the tools they need to reach their realization. And they don't preach a gospel of, deny thyself. It's transform thyself.
Yeah, right. I have noticed that amongst all the different witch goddesses, they're all about comfort in the world, but all at the same time still being pushed towards enlightenment and not allowing things to stand in the way.
I also really enjoy that they're love and death at the same time.
Yeah.
It's just such an interesting, which, our culture's become so separated from death. But in ancient cultures, birth and death were so tied that, of course, love and death become tied. So it's just really interesting that these beings have these ties that we almost, to some degree, don't understand on a cultural level. We have to connect to them to understand them. It's just really interesting.
And they carry such crazy, scary symbols sometimes that you understand the symbol that they're carrying.
Right.
Right?
Like a hook. Oh, good. That's wonderful.
She has a hook.
Yep.
I mean, like the heads around her neck.
Yeah, just like Holly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, like, I read somewhere that those represent all of the different obstacles in your life that she slays. And she just wears and adorns them.
Well, and
Like
the good thing is that you actually want her to cut your head off and to wear it as a garland.
You know,
That's
because it's like a form of enlightenment or uplifting.
imagine being worn by the goddess. Your consciousness
Your
raised to
consciousness.
such a level that you're unified with her in such a way.
Yeah.
Mm.
The flowers, the bow and arrow made from flowers, that is very symbolic.
I love that they
Shooting and
said
pointing towards the right.
the burning heart of Tara. Because if you imagine green Tara and her heart burning red and all the passion and love she must feel, imagine that as Kurukulla, how passionate the goddess's heart must feel.
That's beautiful.
That's how I see her.
I do find it interesting that she's described as a tribal deity that becomes, goes through Hinduism and Buddhism. So she transcends all these cultures, like we just said. Makes me want to know what the origin is. And of course, we never probably will. It's too far back in antiquity. Once you get past, it's pre-Hindu. Okay.
It's extremely difficult. Yeah.
I know. I told James it's so weird. Between Lilith and Kurukulla, they're two of the most ancient. How in the world in the modern day did we end up?
They survived.
I
know. And Hecate too, because
before
Hecate or Hecate, well, even in the myths, she's a Titan. She's not one of the Olympians, but the rest of the Titans are gone, but she survives. I know that she's mentioned in Etruscan stuff, and deities much like her go back into antiquity again, way before. So we're talking deities that predate Hinduism, Sumerian tradition, and what was in the Greco-Roman area, back way before that. So we're talking way pre-language, because they get picked up into stories that are written, but they're pre that.
Yeah, then there's just scatterings of it. And they had whole lineages in the past.
People build religions based around them.
Yeah.
Like with Kurukulla, that's another interesting thing. Like we read in her book, it said that Kurukulla is always outside of religion. Like she finds religion like man-made construction to just be funny. And,
I like
she
that.
just has like no connection to whatever spirit.
I know. I told Miss Rivas I'd do my Kabbalistic practice in the morning, and that I was doing a lunchtime practice with Kurukulla, and she said, "That's wonderful, honey, because Kurukulla doesn't care what practice you do."
Right. That's how I feel with Lilith too. Well, all these goddesses, they're like, you do what you do, and I'll take care of the rest. Okay, sorry, I sort of derailed us, but I just find it fascinating. These ancient deities that have survived, they fascinate me. Okay.
Okay, cool. So the reason why I want to tell anybody, in case you want to reach out and get this from me when I do it, you can. It's specifically for the purpose of getting rid of obstacles. You'll hear as I read it exactly what it's designed to do. It's supposed to get rid of disease. It's supposed to help your prosperity and your luck. What you would want to do if you want to participate, let's turn the slide.
Yep.
Is stare into the eyes of Kurukulla if you want to participate. This is a magical prayer that was written by a devotee of hers. And I'm going to read it. And if you want to just get a taste of her energy or just experience her in a very small way, you'll want to stare into the eyes of the image. And you'll want to imagine that at your heart chakra, at your solar plexus, that as I speak and say her name, a glowing red light appears. And as I say her name and as I speak, this glowing red light grows larger and larger around your person while you stare into her eyes. And the red light grows and grows until it completely surrounds you in a bubble of red protective light. If you don't want to participate, that's absolutely fine. Okay, I'm going to start. Om Ri Kurukulla. Om Ri Kurukulla. Omri Kurukulla. In the timeless palace of the blessedness dwells that one who emerges from the syllable re, from the red lotus burning in supreme ecstasy. She who is the manifestation of the primordial state. She is that one who magnetized all that exists. Great goddess of magic and potion, Devi of the voluptuous body, you who can tame all that are difficult to be tamed, you who subjugates with your presence, you who are the cause of knowledge. Legions of dakinis dance with the sound of your laughter, which is appearance and vacuity. Please show yourself to us. Wild enchantress, you who seduce the minds of all living beings without exception, Devi of the lion roar, you who has power over serpents, rays of red light permeate unceasingly all the existence levels, lady of desire and passion, hear our calling. Great and powerful Kurukulla, you who with your arrows cut across the three kayas, destroying any malevolent force, Devi of the fierce and intoxicating eyes from which nothing can be hidden. You are the unconquerable queen who can never rest. Please answer our prayers. Wrathful Kurukulla, you are the embodiment of the vital essence that nurtures all of the existence realms, the great Yakshini of the pure land. Please increase our well-being, our strength, and the magnificence of our bodies. Increase the wisdom in our speech, the clarity of our visions, and the power of our meditations. Please increase our luck and prosperity. O victorious one, emerge from the ultimate reality to pacify all the obstacles and the causes of diseases. Grant us the power to eliminate the harmful effects that enemies or negative thoughts could have on us, whatever their origin. Our glorious guide, grant us the knowledge and the courage to subjugate any evil force that could threaten our path. May we have strong discipline to tame and to pacify the illusory display of our minds. May we recognize the intrinsic essence of all phenomena, that our eyes may see and that our ears may hear. May the appearances do not deceive us. O you, the exalted Jetsuma who comes from Udayana, whisper your secrets to us. Speak to us your mysteries. May the Vajra state of mind flourish. May all wishes here and the highest aspirations today be fulfilled. May the worldly and supreme cities could be accomplished. Your weapons are our weapons, precious Kurukulla. Okay, that's it.
Oh, do you want the book?
Oh, yeah. So if anybody wants to take up, this is what's so great about Kurukulla. Do you want to do a love spell on a guy? Kurukulla is perfect. Do you want to reach enlightenment and liberation? Kurukulla is perfect. Do you want to learn about magic and learn to love yourself and to transform the things in your life that aren't working into things that do? Kurukulla is perfect. So the book is Kurukulla, Goddess of Bewitchment, and it's by Veronica Rivas. She is a master of Tibetan Buddhism and Reiki, and she is a master of Kimbanda as well. And if you want to have another book, it's a little cheaper. You can find, it's called Nux Omnia, Feminine Deities of the Left-Hand Path. And if anybody wants any additional information, you can just find me on Facebook and I'll be happy to help you and give it to you.
You can also, and I'll type it in here, you can reach us through our website. Again, we're Circle of the Dark Mother, but our website is circulus-mapterm.com, which of course means Circle Mother. So if you have any questions or just want to check out what we have going on, we also, of course, have these monthly meetings at Witch Lab every month but January. And once there's in-person stuff again, we'll probably be doing monthly meetings and monthly rituals at Witch Lab, but we will broadcast everything too. Until then, it'll be once a month, and we'll mix up rituals and classes. Any other questions about either Kurukulla or about anything else anybody have? Okay, well, hopefully you enjoyed this. I know I did. Thank you, Brandon. I've even read the books and I still feel like I learned a lot. So thank you.
Cool.
Thank you for, I see a thank you. So thank you for thanking us. Thank you for being here. No, seriously, really, really happy to do this. We love talking about all spirituality, but especially Dark Mothers, and Kurukulla being one we have not done before. This is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I will say the book, Kurukulla, Goddess of Bewitchment, it's not super cheap because it's limited edition. There's a more expensive one and a lesser expensive. But it is a really, really good book. I learned a ton from it too.
Absolutely. I'm still learning tons from it.
Yeah, I need to read it again at some point.
Mhm.
Okay, well, thank you all. Have a great night, and we will be back next month. Take care. Thank you. And I'm going to stop the share and stop our recording.